Hello, my name is Chelsea Mack. I just moved here from Toronto actually.
Hi, my name is Moji and I lived in New York City for...
Hi guys, I'm Raihan. Spent some time, 3 years actually, in Trinidad and Tobago.
My name is Kelly. The first time I moved from IT to Montreal.
You see, I was born in the beautiful city of Montreal, Canada. This city is full of life and it has so much to offer. From some of Canada's best academic facilities to amazing festivals like the Jazz Fest and Le Grand Prix that people from all over the world travel to Montreal to come and experience. The endless list of restaurants, most gorgeous tourist attractions, as well as Montreal's famous nightlife. But as much as I love my city, one question that I hear a lot from people is, if you love your city so much, why leave? I wasn't necessarily the best when it came to school. Often when learning, I felt really embarrassed when I didn't know the answer. And that kind of followed me through all of my schooling until I kind of broke out of it in college. This fear of being wrong made me so afraid to ask questions when I didn't understand things. And that kept me back a lot in school. So while everybody else seemed to be moving past me and leaving me behind, because I did get set back, I felt like I was struggling to keep up. This led me to completely give up and I found myself skipping a lot of classes, which further kept me back. Now, when I got older and decided that it was time for me to grow, it was time for me to elevate, and that I really wanted to make an effort to move forward with my life, it became extremely hard for me to do that in the environment that I was living in. Because I was slightly set back in school, I was constantly being questioned on what it is that I wanted to do with my life, on what I wanted to study, and the truth is I did not have the answers. Eventually, the answer did come to me though, and I wanted to do nursing, which usually is something that parents are happy to see their kids go into, but I also wanted to do content creation. Now, the problem with nursing and the problem with me is I happen to be the person in my family to do things the very unconventional way. While everybody else was going to university and going to these great schools, I chose a route that was a little bit different, and people didn't understand that route. So once again, even though I knew what it is that I wanted to do and I had done all the research that I could possibly do to really understand what I could do with the diploma I was trying to get and where I could go, how far I could push it and leverage it to get me to where I actually want to be, other people were busy trying to force me to do things that I wasn't really interested in doing. This created a space where I was constantly living in anxiety. I was constantly walking on eggshells because I never knew when next people around me would blow up or when next I would be faced with one of those dreadful conversations about my future and what I'm gonna do with my life. Outside of my home, when I would look at my environment, I also wasn't really happy with what was around me. I did have some genuinely good friends, but the problem was as I got to a point where I really wanted to grow and develop and blossom as an adult, as I started tapping into who I really was and I started doing the things that really interest me rather than just trying to fit in, I realized that I did not have many like-minded people around me. And it became really hard for me to grow in an environment like that. One day I was scrolling through Instagram and I landed on this one guy's page. At that point, I was done with nursing school, thank God, because I didn't think I was gonna get through it in that environment, but I persevered and I did. I was done with nursing school, but I was fresh out of a breakup with who I thought was going to be my person. And I just wasn't happy with where my life was. Despite the fact that I had just graduated from nursing school and I just accomplished this thing that I wanted so badly, I still didn't feel happy. And as I was on that guy's page, I clicked on a specific video, and that video said, if a plant isn't growing, what's the first thing you should do? And the answer was fix its environment. Repot it, water it, rehydrate it, take care of it. But if you want to see that plant grow, you have to fix its environment. And just like that, it clicked. It was time for me to go. But that day after seeing that video, I grabbed my laptop, I opened it, I started searching for apartments in Ontario because that's where I knew I had to go, that's where I knew the opportunity was. And the day after, I got a text message. It was one of the property owners for one of the properties that I had applied for. He asked me for a few things, I sent him the documents, and just like that, I signed my lease, and in 10 days, I was moving to Ottawa. Now, moving out of the city that I am from was one of the most life-changing, eye-opening experiences I have ever experienced in my life. There is no person on earth that I would discourage to move out of their hometown. I have learned so much, and I want to share some of the reasons why you should move out of your hometown. The first thing that moving out of my hometown did was it taught me how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable used to be something that I feared, but now I just see it as a part of life, as something that I have to experience in order to grow. I was way too comfortable living in my hometown. I didn't feel like it had anything to offer me anymore. I had been living there for 23 years. I feel like I had outgrew my city, and I got to a place where I had just completely plateaued. Although I was super scared and uncomfortable when I moved into this completely new place that I didn't know and where I knew absolutely no one, the whole thing was uncomfortable. But now looking back, I could see that all of that discomfort was necessary for me to grow into the person that I am now. I moved here 3 years ago. It is so crazy how much I have changed and how much my life has changed in that amount of time. As a matter of fact, it is so crazy how much my life drastically changed in 6 months after moving. When I moved from Montreal, I had 27,000 subscribers and I had 100,000 subscribers by January. So within 6 months, I had quadrupled the amount of subscribers that I had on my other channel just by changing my environment, as uncomfortable as that was for me. Moving out of my hometown helped me develop my social skills. Because in Montreal, I had friends that I knew forever, my family, I already had my circle of people to hang out with. I wasn't really developing my social skills because I wasn't really meeting new people. I was really on that no new friend stuff. I wasn't really tapping into that side of me, but putting myself in an environment where I knew absolutely no one and I had to make new friends, meet new people, it forced me to develop my social skills, to learn how to speak to other people so that I could develop connections in other places. It allowed me to have better control over the people that I was surrounding myself with. Now, when you're born and raised in an environment, you can't control that. You cannot control who you're surrounded by, what school you go to. You don't have any control over that as a kid growing up. But as an adult who moved to a completely different place, I was able to control who I surrounded myself by. And I found a lot more like-minded people who were either into content creation or other people who were also nurses. So as I worked my way up the nursing ladder till I got to where I am now, where I'm a travel nurse and I'm just working all over the city, and I'm about to be doing travel nursing all over Canada soon. I met a lot of nurses who taught me a lot, who put me onto so much game that I had no idea about when it comes to nursing and what I could do with my nursing license. Even though I took the unconventional route and I didn't go become an RN like everybody else. And I also met other content creators like myself who taught me a lot when it comes to photography and bettering the quality of my videos, editing, softwares, and all the different things that I could do to help elevate myself on YouTube and on other social media platforms. It increased my faith in God and my self-confidence. I was told that it was not a good idea, that if I moved out, I would have to move back in, that it would fail, that I was told all types of things, all types of discouraging things. And although those thoughts were in the back of my mind, although those shadows were trying to hold me back as I was trying to break out of who I used to be and start a new chapter for myself, I still went ahead and I did it. I had no idea how things were gonna work out. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I didn't even have a job when I moved over here. I had savings, and I figured once I got here, I was just going to figure it out as I went. All I knew is that I wanted to have enough money to at least be able to pay my rent for a few months, but there was no guarantee of how soon I was gonna get a job. I just knew that I was going to figure it out. And now looking back, seeing how everything unfolded and how I got to where I am now, it just made me love life, and it taught me to let go of the obsession with being in control of everything and knowing how everything is gonna pan out at every step. You don't have to know. You just have to put your mind to something, and you just have to put yourself in a position where you can get closer to that thing. Even if it's half a step every day, half a step is still something. What is up, you guys? It's me in the future. So I was just sitting down here in my robe and I just thought to myself, I know quite a few people who have relocated from their hometowns to a completely different country or city, and I wanted to get some of them on here to share what their experience has been like, as well as any advice they would have to offer to anybody thinking about moving. So let's go ahead and hear what they have to say.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Mack. I'm Nigerian and Turkish, and I currently live in Montreal. My cousin asked me to do this video because I'm notoriously known for moving. I actually love moving. So, like I said, I live in Montreal at the moment. I just moved here from Toronto, actually, and I lived there for a year. So prior to that, I lived in Edmonton, Alberta. So I have moved around a lot. Growing up, I grew up in Europe, Nigeria. So I moved from like different countries and then finally ended up here. So my one advice when it comes to moving is you need to be open-minded. You need to be, I know change is hard and it's like, you know, you have to push yourself to do it, but change is very important. It gives you new experiences, it broadens your mind, and it opens your perspective on life. So I think if you are planning on moving, I think it's a great idea. If you are trying to, you know, open up your mind to new things, I think what you need to do is when you move, you just have to kind of find people who are in the same field as you, find people who are interested in the same things you're interested in, you know, network with those people, meet up with those people. That way you can have those social companions while also working yourself, because when you move somewhere new, most of the time you don't know people around you, right? So you get to have a lot more time with yourself, kind of see what you like, see what you don't, and then also have that social aspect of things. So if it all makes sense, the reason why you want to move, I think it's a great thing to do. It will open your mind up, open you up to new experiences. If you don't like it, the worst that could happen is move back to where you came from. It's not that hard. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope this helped.
Hi guys, I'm Raihan. I'm actually Canadian born, but I grew up in Georgetown, Guyana, and also spent some time, 3 years actually, in Trinidad and Tobago, where I completed my undergrad degree. After that, I returned home to Guyana to work for 2 years, and now I'm here in Ottawa, completing my master's in economics. I moved here in September 2021. So I moved to Ottawa in the thick of the pandemic. All of my classes were virtual, and even my co-op work terms were online. And of course, that made it very, very difficult to meet people. So my best bit of advice to someone who's thinking about moving cities would be to join a social app. For me, that was Bumble BFFs, but I made the mistake by waiting an entire year to join the app because I said, you know, that's not my thing. But sometimes you really just have to put yourself out there, and you'll be surprised how many people are in the same predicament as you. For me, I was reading a lot of bios that said, move to a new city in a pandemic, don't know anyone, looking to make some friends. And it's a great way to sort of build a support system and really to network. A lot of people join the app as soon as they move to the city, or they're proactive and they join before they move to the city. And I think those people are very smart, and I think that is the best tip I can give to someone who is moving to a new city.
Hi, my name is Moji. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, and I lived in New York City for 4 months. So I would say that living in New York City was one of the best experiences that I've had in my life so far. I learned so much. It was such an educational time for me, and I would say for anyone who wants to move away from their hometown, I don't see why you wouldn't move away from your hometown. I feel like no one should stay in the same spot forever. If you grew up in a town, I think you should leave that town, go somewhere else, live there for a little bit, or go travel. I don't see the benefit of staying in your town and staying around the people that you grew up with. I don't see how you would grow. But I would say that leaving Montreal and living in New York City for 4 months was definitely really educational, because I got to meet so many people. I got to learn so much things about myself. I got to learn about a lot of skills that I had that I didn't know I had, just because I was placed in an environment that I wasn't used to. I had family there, but I was basically alone, so I had to make new friends. And I think being a young adult, it's a lot harder to make friends just because everyone kind of has their own friend groups. So you kind of learn how to navigate and to interact with people and socialize with people, make new friends, make new connections. And it's fun because you get to meet people who are from all over the world, who have different experiences and different things to bring to the table. So I would say definitely living in New York just taught me how to socialize. It taught me how to use the GPS and navigate. It taught me how to get lost and get found. It just taught me a lot of different things about myself. So I would definitely recommend to anyone who's thinking about moving away that they should move away. And even if it's for a couple of months, just do it. If it's for a year, if you end up moving for your whole life, just do it, because you'll never know what awaits you on the other side unless you take the leap.
Good morning, my name is Kelly, and I'm making this video to talk to you about my experience with moving. The first time I moved from Haiti to Canada, and I lived in Montreal, and I lived there for about 12 years. And in 2018, I lived on and off between Montreal and Victoria on the West Coast. And in 2020, it was official. I moved completely to the West Coast in Victoria, where I am right now. And what moving has taught me is basically to keep an open mind and learn to know new people, because sometimes you can go to a place and you know nobody at all. And in my case, I've been lucky to meet new people with my work, and that made the transition pretty easy. And also, one thing it taught me is that moving is not necessarily starting new. It can be just a continuation, but a continuation of who you already are. You do what you do, and you do your work, and you meet other people, and you keep going. One thing also you need to do when you're moving is that you have to plan, because out here on the West Coast, house hunting is pretty difficult. It's hard to find a place to live, and rent is pretty high, so you have to find a place that's affordable, but at the same time, it's not in a messed up area. So you have to spend a lot of time, searching. And once you find what you're looking for, that's when you make a decision to move. I don't necessarily love moving, but when I have to do it, it's something that you have to put a lot of thought into it. I hope my experience is going to help you in your moving in the future. Again, keep an open mind and keep planning. Thanks for having me.